Daniel Sports Central, we go over our next team prediction of this offseason, and it's going to be over the Alabama Crimson Tide. A really solid team in 2022 that just took a couple of close, brutal losses. This team was 11-2 overall in the 2022 season. Took their losses to Tennessee and LSU, both within 3 points. I mean, both losses were really close, and ultimately that eliminated them from college football playoff contention. But looking forward to 2023, will this team return to the college football playoff in the 2023 season? We'll be talking about it here today, going over the players this team will be losing and returning, and predicting their schedule game by game in this video. Let's get started with a quick recap of 2022. This team was, once again, 11-2 overall. They start out the season with a dominant win over Utah State, 55-0. Just destroyed Utah State there. And beat Texas on the road 20-19. That was a close game there on the road in Austin, and that's we're going to see those two teams play each other again this season, this time in Tuscaloosa. But that was a closer game than some or many expected, but Alabama still got the win. They beat Louisiana Monroe 63-7 the next week, beat Vanderbilt 55-3, took care of Arkansas on the road, beat Texas A&M in a close one 24-20. And then the next week they went to Knoxville to take on Tennessee, which Tennessee in October was the best team in the country. That team was hot in October, and you could just see it when they beat Alabama there, and 52-49 was the final. Just an insane game where Alabama just so happened to come up on the losing end. But the next week came back, beat Mississippi State, a good football team, 30-6. They had their bye week and then took on LSU on the road. This one was also a loss. Lost in overtime 32-31, an insane finish and another brutal loss. And that really put a big dent in Alabama's hopes of making the college football playoff. But despite all that, Crimson Tide still had a strong finish to the season, beat Ole Miss on the road, beat Austin Peay, beat Auburn 49-27, and then took on K-State in the Sugar Bowl. Kansas State, a really good team in 2022, won the Big 12, which was in itself just an insane conference in 2022. I mean, who would have thought TCU would have been at the top like they were, went 12-0. I mean, just insane what happened in that conference last season. And Alabama got the win there 45-20, a really good win to finish out this season. And now we look forward to 2023. Your roster preview heading into the season. So Bryce Young is gone, and that could have a significant impact on this team. When he got as incredible of a quarterback as he is, I mean, it's tough to replace him. So Jalen Milroe definitely has got some big shoes to fill, and we'll see how he does. It appears that he's going to be the starter at quarterback for this team, at least to start this season. So, and I think, Alabama's had so much success with quarterbacks, and Nick Saban is still the coach. I'm really not too concerned. But yeah, Bryce Young is gone, putting up 3,300 yards of passing last season, 32 touchdowns over 5 picks. Really good stats for him. And Jahmyr Gibbs is also gone, the top running back on this team, and put up just over 1,300 yards. But the backfield's got some good depth. You got Jace McClellan coming back, so I'm really not too concerned there. Receiving core overall looks good. Jermaine Burton's coming back. Ja'Cory Brooks is coming back, so your top two wideouts. You lose your top tight end, your third in receiving yards in Cameron Latou, but Kobe Prentice is coming back, the third wideout on this team. So overall, receiving core looks good. I'd say the backfield looks good, despite losing Jahmyr Gibbs. The quarterback situation is one of the main question marks, I'd say, for this team, just because Bryce Young, just such an incredible player who it's just going to be tough to replace him. And so you got Jalen Milroe, who's looking like the starter, at least the favorite to start right now. You also got Ty Simpson in there. Tyler Buckner just transferred in from Notre Dame. So we'll see where he fits in there. Tyler Buckner, not a bad quarterback. Definitely still has got some work to do, but he's a quarterback with potential. So we'll see what happens there. Crimson Tide lose 2 on the offensive line, 2 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, and then 3 in the secondary. So defensively, this team has got some rebuilding to do as well. But I'll say this, with the recruiting of this team, the depth that this team has, Nick Saban coach team, this is not a team to be doubted. You look at the returning production, it happens like this year after year for some of these top teams. They lose so many outstanding players, but they're able to rebuild so easily because of the depth and the recruiting on their team. So I'm really not too worried about Alabama, despite maybe a few question marks around the team. So brings up the question, is there a potential return to the college football playoff in the picture for 2023? And I very much think this team will once again be in contention. They haven't been in the college football playoff 2 straight years now, and we've kind of seen Georgia take over as the top power in college football since, as they've won back-to-back national championships now. But Alabama is still not a team to sleep on. I mean, they've got Nick Saban as their coach, and any Nick Saban coach team is one to keep an eye on. And so I'm not too concerned about the Crimson Tide. I wouldn't be surprised one bit if this team was in the top 4 once again come December. But that said, looking at the transfer portal and recruiting now, so we mentioned Tyler Buchner coming in from Notre Dame for the quarterback position. You lose Trey Sanders, running back to TCU. You bring in CJ Dippre, expect him to have an immediate impact. He is coming in from Maryland. JoJo Earl, receivers off to TCU. Trayshawn Holden is off to Oregon. Tresman Marshall, expect him to have immediate impact as well. Linebacker coming in from Georgia. Demouy Kennedy is off to Colorado. And then Kyrie Jackson, defensive back, is off to Oregon. Recruiting-wise, this team is the top team in the country for the 2023 class, top in the SEC. They got 12 5-stars and 15 4-stars coming in. This is the top recruiting class in the country, and it's really not that close either. I mean, they've got a really solid group of players coming in, 28 commits, and we mentioned 12 5-stars. I mean, the next team at number 2 is Georgia with 7 5-stars, and they're several points behind Alabama as far as it goes, looking at the entire class. And so for Alabama, this team, they've got depth, and they're going to be dangerous moving forward. I expect them to be one of the top powers in college football as long as Nick Saban is still around. And that said, I've got this team at a 9 out of 10 on the future forecast meter. Future is still bright for Alabama. This team won't be falling off anytime soon, despite maybe you could say it's hardly even a slump. This team has still been a big contender. They just haven't been in the college football playoff 2 straight years. So some might say, based on Alabama's expectations, that they're falling off a bit, but this is still a really solid team. But that said, let's look at the schedule now going into 2023. So you got Middle Tennessee State in week 1, an easy game to start out the season. And then you've got a big one. So you got Texas at home in week 2, and Texas should be an even better team in 2023. You got them at home, which is a positive. And I mean, after last season, Alabama had a scare against Texas. So we'll see if they can respond and have a more dominant performance. Then you got South Florida on the road, then Ole Miss at home after that, and then Mississippi State on the road to finish out September. Then you got Texas A&M on the road. Texas A&M's a team that Alabama's had some trouble with the past few years. And then you got Arkansas and then Tennessee at home after that. LSU at home on the 4th. That more than likely will determine who wins the SEC West once again this season. Then you got Kentucky on the road, Chattanooga at home, and then Auburn on the road to finish out the season. So looking at your first 4 games here, Middle Tennessee State, easy win, not concerned about that one. Texas, Texas is a very intriguing team. We have said for years that this team is on the rise, but Texas really hasn't broken through yet. We'll see. I mean, this is, if there's any team that can win the Big 12 from Texas, it should be this one. And this is looking like Texas's last season in the Big 12 as well before they join the SEC. So we'll be seeing Alabama and Texas facing each other in the future as well. But for this matchup, I am going to be going with Alabama, with the Crimson Tide being at home. It's in Tuscaloosa. I think Alabama is maybe still at this point in the season with the quarterback situation. That's still one of the main question marks for me on this team. I think Jalen Milroe does enough, though, to get it done, and the Crimson Tide get the win, but in a close game. Then you got South Florida on the road, easy win there, despite it being an interesting road game to South Florida, a group of 5 school. And then you got Ole Miss at home on the 23rd. You take care of them, no problem. I do think you win that game by 2 or 3 touchdowns, even though Ole Miss should be a decent team in 2023. Then it's your 4-0 heading into your last game of September here against Mississippi State, and I think you beat the Bulldogs there in a closer one, but you get it done. Now, Texas A&M, this is a matchup that, last season it came down to the wire. Alabama barely won that one. The year before that, Alabama went to College Station, took a loss, which was a disappointing one. College Station is a tough place to play, and Alabama's had some trouble with the Aggies over the past few years. And so with that, I'm going to be picking Texas A&M here to win this matchup. I think the Aggies are improved. They've very much disappointed in 2022, though, so they could disappoint once again in 2023. But I expect them to definitely be better, and the Aggies get the win there in the end in a close one. Arkansas, Tennessee, then you got 2 games here that are crucial. I think you take care of the Razorbacks. You get the win, but maybe a closer one. And then Tennessee at home. This was the tough loss last season on the road in Knoxville, but I think this time around you got them at home. You beat Tennessee there, and so a couple of solid wins heading into November with a 7-1 record, and this is a crucial one against LSU to start out November. I mentioned this is more than likely going to determine who wins the SEC West once again this season, and I think he beat LSU this time around. Now, the Tigers are going to be tough. That's Jaden Daniels. I like him a lot. I think that team it could very much be better in 2023, but I think this is where Alabama gets a huge win, and they put themselves in the top position in the SEC West and in a really good position to potentially return to the college football playoff. You beat Kentucky on the road, maybe a closer one there as well. So I've got several close games down the stretch here for Alabama. I think this team wins most of them, but I do think they slip up against Texas A&M. But you beat Chattanooga in comfortable fashion, beat them by a few touchdowns, and then you beat Auburn on the road, in which Auburn's an interesting team for 2023, but I don't expect them much higher than 7 or 8 wins. So you're going to go 11-1 this upcoming season. I do think you take a loss. I don't think you quite go undefeated, even though that's very much a possibility. And that's what I've got for the ceiling is 12-0 for Alabama. The floor is 9-3. That's the worst possible record you could have, but even that is pretty unlikely. This is our range where we can see what the ceiling is for each team, what the floor is. Ceiling for Alabama is 12-0 and undefeated, which is just as likely, honestly, as maybe a 10-2 record. My prediction is 11-1 for this team. The floor, 9-3 being an orange on the right there. I do think 9-3 is pretty unlikely, but it is still somewhat possible. So I'm going to put that as the floor. But yeah, 10 to 12 wins is very much, I think, where this team is going to be. And I've got them right at the middle at 11 wins for 2023. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Crimson Tide. Does this team once again return to the college football playoff in 2023? Let me know in the comments below. And I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.